Kimberly Jolly and the crew over at Fat Quarter Shop sent me an exciting package to receive this week. They sent over the Bountiful Quilt along with the boxed kit, and we are going to be talking about all things Bountiful. I'm going to show you the quilt. I'm going to hang it up behind me. We'll talk about the quilt, we'll talk about the kit, and I will fill you in on all the details of the Bountiful Quilt Along, just in case you're not familiar with it. It may just be a quilt along that you want to join in on, so stick around. And here is the Bountiful Quilt hung up so that you can get a better look at it. This quilt features my Sunwashed line of fabric, and I know you can't quite see the whole thing in the shot. We have the basket block up here. There is another one tucked down below me here. And then in this corner, this section repeats down here in this lower corner. I am going to link to a spot where you can see a whole full-sized photo of the quilt so that you can get a great idea of what this looks like. But first, I want to talk a little bit about the Bountiful Quilt Along in case you're not familiar with it. This is the charity quilt along that Fat Quarter Shop hosts every year. And this is actually the 10th year for this charity quilt along. I had to look that up because I knew they had been hosting this for quite a while, but I wasn't exactly sure how many years it's been going on. So year number 10. And for the last 3 years, Fat Quarter Shop has used my fabric lines. In the last 2 years, I've had the fun of designing the pattern for the quilt along. This is my pattern for this year, and then they write up the instructions for the quilt along, and they just put together such a nice monthly block of the month. Now, it's a charity quilt along, so every month starting in March through August, a new pattern will be released on the Fat Quarter Shop blog, and you can make a donation to Make-A-Wish. You will find the donation information on those monthly blog posts, and I'll make sure to have the landing page for the quilt along linked in the description box below this video. And you'll make your donation to Make-A-Wish, and it is a great way to sew along with friends and also benefit a great charity. Now, I want to go ahead and take this quilt down so that we can look at it a little bit closer. We'll take a look at the quilting, talk about the fabrics in a little bit greater detail, and they were also kind enough to send over one of the kits that you can purchase if you wanted to sew along and make the quilt exactly as you see it behind me. When you're sewing along, you can choose to use the Sunwashed fabrics as we have here, or you can use any fabrics that you want to use. I'm going to show you the fabrics I'm going to be using at the end of this video so you can see what my plan is. But Fat Quarter Shop has put together these beautiful kits using Sunwashed fabrics. So these kits are actually available right now and will be shipping very soon. They're anticipating the end of January, beginning of February is when these will start shipping out. They include all of the fabrics for the quilt top, and they also include all of the patterns for the whole quilt along. So you could just get a jump right on sewing your quilt up and you wouldn't have to wait for those monthly patterns to release. So that makes this kit extra fun. Let's go ahead and take this quilt down and then we'll keep chatting just a bit more. Here is what the quilt looks like up close. As you can see, it has this beautiful Baptist fan quilting on it. The background is the white on white dot. It's actually the same print as the binding fabric here. And it was quilted by Joanna Marsh. Now the backing, I'm going to flip over and show you just a little bit of the corner, but I am going to show you more of this at the end of the video because it is a beautiful pieced backing, and Fat Quarter Shop is also selling a pieced backing kit if you wanted to piece your backing exactly as they have for this quilt. I am just going to move these pretty little blocks around here so that you can see a bit more. I had so much fun designing this quilt full of all of these flowers, lots of different kinds of flowers, of course the butterfly, and this wonderful basket block. This quilt finishes at 64 inches square, So it is a nice throw-sized quilt. And I love this check fabric for this handle. An Ohio Star block, you know I love myself an Ohio Star. I think this little scallop is so sweet around these blocks. And this little bee fabric in Sunwashed I think is just the cutest thing. All right, let me see if I can slide this over a little bit. I want to show you that other basket block, and it is up here in this top corner. We'll take a look at this a little bit closer as well. There we go. I think you can see that pretty nicely. I think these are such fun blocks. They're nice and oversized. They're going to be pretty nice to piece because there's not a lot of small pieces. And I think it's just such a summery, happy quilt. That gives you an idea of some of the up-close details of this Bountiful quilt. Next, let me show you a little bit about that kit because that's a fun little box to receive. So let me move this out of the way and we'll take a peek inside the kit. This is the kit box. As you can see, it has the quilt design on the front of it, and it is a nice, sturdy, durable box with a magnetized closure, which I always really appreciate. The full set of patterns to complete the quilt top, you receive that with the kit, and then all of these beautiful fabrics. Fat Quarter Shop is always very generous with their fabrics when they cut kits. So you've got all of these pretties in here. This will complete the quilt top and you will have fabric for your binding as well. And then, as I said, there is also a backing finishing kit that you can purchase separately if you wanted to do the pieced backing. So that gives you just a peek inside the kit, which are available now. They do sell out, so if you wanted the kit, I would suggest purchasing sooner rather than later. I know last year with the Heartfelt kit, there were people who had wished they had snatched it up a little bit quicker because it did sell out. But you can still get it right now as of the filming of this video. Now, I have the quilt hung up back behind me again, but this time so you can see the backing of it. So you can see that pieced backing. We've put the butterflies and the little flowers in between, and then this beautiful large scale floral print on the white to frame out the butterflies and flowers. And I think that turned out so pretty. I always love a pieced backing. I like them better than just a plain backing, but I usually opt for a 108-inch wide fabric by the time I get to my backing because I just don't like taking the time to piece the backings. For all of you that do make your pieced backings, I love them. They look so beautiful, and this quilt is no exception. That just finishes off the quilt perfectly. Now, I wanted to share a little bit about my plan for the fabrics that I'm going to be using for the Bountiful Quilt Along. I am also going to be sewing along with all of you, but I'm not going to use Sunwashed. My quilt is going to get auctioned off along with several other quilts, so I wanted to do something a little bit different since Kimberly is going to be making her quilt using Sunwashed. So I am going to be using some Camille Roskelly fabrics. Let me pull those over here and we'll take a look at those. These are the fabrics that I am going to be using right here. It is mostly Dwell fabrics with just a little bit of Nantucket summer fabrics thrown in. I'm using this little pin dot white on cream for the background of my quilt top, and this is a 108-inch wide that I'll be using for my backing. And I cannot wait to sew along with all of you. I've had so much fun sewing along with everyone in years previous, and I've also had the fun of having my quilt auctioned off at the end of the sew along, and that's also a lot of fun. I can't wait to see how this quilt comes together. I can't wait to see your quilts using Sunwashed or whatever fabrics you might be using. Let me know if you're joining in the comments below, and if you are, what fabric line you're using, because this is such a fun sew along to see all of the different quilts that are getting made. I will be sure to link to all of the important information I mentioned during this video in the description box below. So if you want to grab a kit, if you want to double check when the sew along starts, or anything else I might have mentioned, you can find it down there. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I can't wait to see you next time.